You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 162.
Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life. Hello and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. So happy you're here to join us. Do you want to make classroom management easier for yourself and your students and be able to focus better and enjoy your time in class together a whole lot more? In this super short and sweet episode of the Balanced Educator Podcast, a solo episode I may add, I'm sharing how to make classroom management easier by teaching your students emotional regulation through breathing exercises. So specifically, you're going to learn 6 breathing exercises that you can teach to your students that can then be added to your students' coping skills toolbox. Plus, you'll learn the secret to getting them to actually use those self-management skills on their own when they're feeling a big emotion. And hint, hint, if you listen to this education podcast often, you may already have an idea as to what it is. You will leave this episode with everything you need to start implementing these awesome teaching strategies right away and to create a well-managed, respectful, and focused classroom environment. But before we dive into the show, we're excited to share this week's sponsor with you. Did you know that Canadian educators are highly sought after by top international schools worldwide? Teaching overseas is professionally rewarding and offers an amazing lifestyle rich with culture, social, and travel experiences. Search Associates is the world's largest recruiting agency representing over 800 top international schools in over 120 countries worldwide. Each year, they've helped over 3,000 teachers, counselors, librarians, and specialists secure great jobs in their carefully vetted K-12 international schools, where teachers like you can enjoy small class sizes, motivated students, and high academic standards in a supportive learning environment. Gary McPhee brings over 30 years of teaching and administrative experience in international schools to his role as a senior associate with Search. He started his teaching career in Toronto in 1982 and ventured on his first overseas post in 1988. His international teaching career has taken him and his family to Singapore, Taiwan, Tanzania, Qatar, Canada, and China, first as a teacher, then principal, and international recruiter. He now shares his passion for international teaching with other adventurous educators. If you're interested in learning more on how to become an international educator, join Search Associates' free Facebook group at Search Associates Canada and visit ca.searchassociates.com or email Gary at gmcphee@searchassociates.com. That's GMACPHIE@searchassociates.com. Check out this episode's show notes for the details. Register with Search Associates Canada and receive personalized advice and support throughout your international job search. Adventure awaits. Take the first step. Contact them today. All right, let's dive into the show. So, has this ever happened to you where you're just like maybe sitting at your desk and you look over at a student in your classroom who has that really frustrated, like turning red with smoke coming out of their ears look and thought to yourself, oh boy, which of my classroom management strategies will I need to apply today? Yeah. I've definitely been there. I think most teachers have been there. But the amazing thing is that there were quite a few times where this was happening in my classroom, and I just saw something that blew my mind. Like, the student used one of the coping skills that I had taught and practiced with them for a few months before, which honestly, I don't think anything could make me happier as a teacher than to see a student actually apply in their own time a strategy, a self-regulation strategy. And fortunately, this is an awesome pattern that I've been seeing over and over again in my classroom. And something that I've learned in my 10 plus years of teaching in French immersion schools is that the best way to make classroom management easier for ourselves and for our students is to teach our students emotional regulation, but like in an explicit way, which that's the tough part. So how do we teach self-regulation in an explicit way? To help our students develop their emotional intelligence, so in order to develop coping skills for anxiety and for other big emotions, like that really frustrated student with the smoke coming out of his ears, I've got a few social emotional learning activities up my sleeves, but mainly I love implementing mindfulness activities for kids and breathing exercises that we can use in the classroom, which is really what we're talking about today. They are a total game changer. But before I dive into any of these simple teaching strategies and classroom mindfulness activities, I have to say one really, really, really important thing, which is the secret I was talking about earlier in my intro. So what is so important? What is the secret? When it comes to social emotional learning and mindfulness activities in the classroom, I feel like I need to do like a drum roll here. Routine and repetition are the keys to success. If you listen to our podcast often, did you expect that to be the answer? I'm sure you did. If you're new here, welcome, first of all. Second of all, that is something we probably say every episode because routine and repetition are the keys to success. That's why. I do feel like a broken record repeating myself over and over again with this, but without routine and repetition, we'll never see moments like I shared earlier in this episode where the student is using a strategy, is self-managing so that we don't need to do as much classroom management. So if we want our students to self-regulate, we need to practice self-regulation exercises often and explicitly. We can't just teach them a strategy a few times and think they'll use it on their own. Okay, we tend to do this as teachers. This is what I used to do as well before I learned better, right? What to do. Students, to learn something, they need to practice it a minimum of 7 times. And honestly, I think we would say more like at least 10 to 15 times to solidify their new strategy and to use it on their own. And on this note, don't expect students to be completely engaged from the start. When you're practicing these self-regulation activities, they will wiggle and giggle and roll their eyes, and that's totally okay. You will see progress over time. Sometimes it takes lots of time, but just be patient. That's just a side note. Furthermore, it's important to teach these SEL techniques when students are calm and in a good place, not when they're already in an elevated emotional state. Okay? So again, teaching these strategies when students are already in a good, calm, collected state. And the other thing is that I wanted to mention is that as teachers, we have to model the strategy for the students. Okay? This means practicing the self-regulation strategy with them. And by doing this, we are co-regulating with our students. And when we as the teacher model finding calm and focus, students are much, much more likely to find calm and focus too. Students are simply mirrors of us, the teachers, just like kids are mirrors of their parents. Kids are mirrors of the people they spend the most time with. So if we present ourselves calmly, we take these strategies very seriously, students will likely do the same or be more inclined to. So to conclude this little part before we head into specific teaching strategies, remember that routine and repetition are the keys to success. Routine and repetition, routine and repetition. Practice emotional regulation activities when students are calm, and make sure to, you as the teacher, that you participate in the activity as well. Over time, with patience, students will start to apply the coping strategies they've learned, and classroom management will become easier. So be patient. Just like teaching students how to read, it takes lots of time and repetition before we start seeing progress, aka before we start seeing students self-regulate on their own entirely. Okay, so on to 6 specific breathing exercises. And actually, I kind of lied because the 6th one is like partially a breathing exercise, but partially something else. So whoops, my bad. But it's still a great strategy. So let's dive in. So the first breathing exercise, you might already know it because we've talked about it before on the show, is the 5-finger breathing exercise. So this is one of the best calm classroom activities, if you ask me, because it's so visual. Students have their hand on them, with them. So it's easy to practice this one and to make this into a tool that they'll use then on their own. We love here at EduCalm using the highly effective 5-finger breathing strategy when we first introduce our students of any grade to mindfulness. So if you're just starting out, this is a great one. So follow along. If you're not driving, I encourage you to do it with us. So you're going to use the pointer finger of your other hand to point at the place where your thumb and your wrist meet. And then take a deep inhale and trace your finger up to the tip of your thumb. Now exhale and trace down the other side of your thumb. Inhale, trace up your first finger. Exhale, trace down the other side. And then you continue with the rest of your fingers. So I'll let you finish that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, trace down. Inhale, trace up. Exhale, trace down. Notice how you feel. And if you've been doing, this is just a thought that just came to mind right now, but if you've been doing 5-finger breathing with your students for a while now, why not try to do it backwards, starting from the other side of the wrist? That might get them to really focus in again, or switch hands. Just thoughts to switch things up, keep them really focused on the breathing exercise. So that is the first breathing exercise. If you would like to grab a 5-finger breathing poster, along with so many more free classroom resources, make your way to www.educalm.com/welcome. And EduCalm is spelled EDUCALME. On to the next breathing exercise, number 2, balloon belly breathing. So this one is also pretty simple. You don't need anything other than yourself for it. Follow along with me if you're not driving. Place both of your hands on your belly and imagine that your belly is a balloon. When you inhale, fill your balloon belly up and feel it pressing against your hands. When you exhale, empty the balloon and feel your belly softening against your hands. Do this for 10 or more breaths. And with younger students, I would encourage that you actually breathe like you say inhale, exhale, or push into your belly, etc., however you want to say it. And with older students, perhaps giving them space after a while to do it on their own. Again, for balloon belly breathing, we have a poster here at EduCalm if you would like to grab this beautiful balloon breathing poster. You can get it at www.educalm.com/welcome. It is in the posters ebook. So at educalm.com/welcome, there are, it's a whole list of all of our free resources. And in there is a breathing exercise ebook, which has a bunch of beautiful posters in it that you can print for free and put up on your wall. Breathing exercise number 3 that I'm sharing with you today is called snowflake breathing. So this one is obviously perfect if it is winter time. All you need to do is to print a copy of the snowflake breathing poster when you download the ebook that I was just talking about. Or other option is you could just print out a snowflake, any snowflake, on a piece of paper to give to your students. And all students will do is trace it up and as they inhale and down as they exhale on each side and go through the whole snowflake. So you may have heard of star breathing, which is similar. Snowflake breathing is a variation of that. So as they trace with their finger on the paper, they inhale, trace down, exhale, trace up, inhale, etc. And this one is really great because it's visual, kind of like 5-finger breathing, but this time with an extra resource. And it gives something that students can really focus on so that they're focused on the snowflake and not on the distractions all around them. So, again, if you want to get the EduCalm Snowflake Breathing poster, all you need to do is go to educalm.com/welcome. The breathing exercise number 4 that I'm sharing with you today is similar to the snowflake breathing. However, this one is for a different season. It is the flower petal breathing poster. So this one is perfect for spring and summer. And students will simply trace the petals as they inhale and exhale. So again, you can just go online, find a free image of a flower, like a flower graphic, and just print that out for your students. Or you can also grab it in our breathing exercises ebook, which has 8 posters at educalm.com/welcome. Breathing exercise number 5 that I'm sharing with you today is called mountain breathing poster. So this one is same, but different. Okay. So students will trace and breathe. However, this one will have a variation for students to hold the breath on the third side. So basically imagine a mountain, which is kind of like a triangle. They'll start at one end on the left-hand bottom side. Inhale as they trace up. Exhale as they trace down the other side. And then the variation is that as they trace on the bottom, they hold the breath. So it's a different focus and it may bring up different things for students. So it's a great little variation to try. And this one's not actually in my list, but you can also do square breathing, which is another variation where students inhale as they trace up, then they hold as they trace to the other side, and then they exhale as they trace down again and hold. So they're holding between the inhales and the exhales. However, there is no free poster for that one inside the poster's ebook I was just talking about, but mountain breathing poster is there. Again, at educalm.com/welcome. And note that you can get all of these posters in French as well, en français. So for our French immersion, core French teachers out there, if you go to educalm.com/bienvenue, so that's BIENEVUE, you can get all of these resources en français. And if you go to the welcome page, if you click on the breathing poster, you can get it from there too, because when it pops up, it'll pop up in both languages. All right, so the breathing exercise number 6, which is sort of breathing exercise, sort of another thing too. It's called your calm place activity. And actually, we will have an entire podcast episode all about your calm place activity. We're going to go into detail with this episode. That'll be next month, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I'm just going to give you kind of a general idea of the your calm place activity today. So basically, you are teaching your students to find calm by taking deep breaths and then getting them to imagine their calm place through their 5 senses. So you'll ask them to close their eyes, to take deep breaths, and then to imagine what their calm place sounds like, looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, etc. So through their 5 senses. This is a mindful strategy students can use anytime they want to feel more calm, as long as you practice it repetitively with them so it becomes an ingrained strategy for them. So again, you can actually find 2 posters in relation to your calm place activity in the No Prep Breathing Exercises and Mindfulness Activities PDF. So again, you can find that at educalm.com/welcome. So I encourage you to dabble in that, but if you're like feeling uncertain about this 6th exercise, just know that next month we will have a full episode all about that specific activity. So there we are for our breathing exercises. We have 5-finger breathing. We have balloon belly breathing. Both of these last ones don't require any things to do this, any material items. And then we have breathing exercise number 3, which was snowflake breathing, which you can get a poster for or create your own. Flower petal breathing and mountain breathing. And then the last one is your calm place activity. And the posters that go with all of these breathing exercises are really beautiful. They're very calming. And I just think that one of the best classroom decor themes is a calm classroom decor. So with these beautiful posters that you'll be able to print and activities to create a positive classroom environment to boot, you're well on your way to improve self-regulation and classroom management. So these social emotional learning activities are perfect for kindergarten all the way through grade 12 in the regular classroom, the special ed classroom, the counselor's office, the homeschool, etc. And they also work great for parents and families who want to incorporate more mindful moments with their kids into their day. So if you're a parent, feel free to grab that ebook as well for your home use. Again, I think I mentioned it already, but if you teach in a French or a core French or a French immersion classroom, you can get all of the posters mentioned in this blog post in French, en français as well. You can get it from the same URL by going to educalm.com/welcome, or you can go to educalm.com/bienvenue, where the page is completely in French. So just remember that the secret to getting students to self-regulate and in turn making classroom management much easier for yourself is that routine and repetition are the keys to success. Students will only use their new coping strategies independently in a difficult or emotional moment if they've practiced them often in a calm state. So just remember that. So that is your 6 breathing exercises that you can share with your students over the next few weeks. I would maybe pick one per week and practice it over and over and over again. Don't introduce too much too fast. And if you want to grab the posters that go with each of these strategies, it is free at educalm.com, and that's educalme/welcome. So your exit ticket for today is to pick one of those strategies, print out the posters at educalm.com/welcome, and practice it with your students. And just remember that if you're not sure about that last Your Calm Place breathing activity, that I will actually be doing an entire episode on that next month. So you have that to look forward to. It'll be a super short and sweet episode, maybe 10, 15-minute episode tops, but it'll be jam-packed with goodness. So also, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend or a colleague that would get value from it too, or that might get value from the posters ebook. Thank you in advance for sharing. That is the best way to get our podcast into more listeners' ears, is by you sharing it. So thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate that you share this time with us every month. And I wish you an awesome week.